just to cover the table. So I wish, again, I had a camera in the ceiling, would be great, but there is all Nachmund terrain on the table. Both sides are pretty similar, but I would say that the advantage would come from here, as you can get a few more models up in the fuel tower to allow them to shoot down if they have pretty good range weapons. There's a Nachmund bunker here. There's the landing pad with the antenna system. And then over here, we have another kind of radio tower, less space for a model to shoot from, but can definitely still get up there and do that. And then another Nachmund bunker over here. So that is the table. Whoever rolls off highest, I think I'm probably going to place here just because they do have that tower. But again, if it's the World Eaters, you're not really going to be shooting with them. The 8-bound don't have a ranged attack, and I don't believe Angron does either, unless that's changed with the new balanced data slate. And then Karn does have his plasma pistol, but that's only for short range. So we're going to move over to the tray now. I'm going to roll off, and we are going to see who is going to get placed on the field first, and from there also be able to move and shoot. And if there is hand-to-hand, do that first as well. Behind the dice tray now, we're going to get this roll-off started. Whoever rolls highest here is going to be placed on the table first and also get the first move. So we're going to be using red dice for the World Eaters, Khorne, Angron, and then we have the Thousand Suns, Tzeentch, Magnus with the white. So we'll start up with, let's do Magnus first. It's a 3. And Angron has gotten a 5, so the World Eaters are going to get set up first. I'm going to look at the table one more time to see what's best for them, look over some stats, and then I'll come back, show you guys how they are set up. And then we're going to go over some of the abilities and rules for each of these armies. I think it's going to be a hell of a scrap. I haven't used Magnus in any of the Fight 'em Up series yet, so I'm very excited to see how he does. And yeah, we'll see, because Magnus is no slouch for hand-to-hand combat either, so this is going to be super interesting. Both forces are set up. I decided to put Angron down with the radio tower, just a little bit more open for them. I don't know, it's not going to matter. They don't have really any ranged weapons anyways. I was also reading up on the Blessings of Khorne as well as the abilities, so I hope I'm keeping on top of that throughout the entirety of the battle. Some things have changed since the balanced data slate, so I got to keep on top of that. And then over here we have the Exalted Sorcerer on the left of Magnus, Magnus in the middle, and then a Ryman on the right. And since those characters are on Discs of Tzeentch, they're going to be quite quick, a little bit faster than the World Eaters. They might get the jump on them. And then Magnus and Angron both move 14 inches. So I'm going to get to the moves now, come back, show you guys what happens. Angron's going first. We'll see if anyone's in any kind of range. And then from there, we'll keep going back and forth until only one of these two Daemon Primarchs remains. And I was just looking at the stats there. Magnus has a very good ranged attack, and it's actually got a pretty good range to it, as well as, I believe, the Exalted Sorcerer and a Ryman. So the range, I think, is going to be going to the 1,000 Suns. And then I'm going to have to be very strategic with my World Eaters to make sure that they're not out in the open to be fired upon or have any magics cast against them. But first things first, we are going to do the Blessings of Khorne. So this is a World Eaters specific faction ability. I'm just going to grab 8 dice here, which is how this works. Taking me a little bit of time here because I have an iPad in one hand, and then I'll be rolling with my other. So I've mentioned this before, but for anyone that's new or doesn't know World Eaters, so at the start of the battle round, which is right now, you can make a Blessings of Khorne roll. To do so, roll 8d6. You can then use those dice to activate up to 2 Blessings of Khorne. See below. I think it used to only be 1. I don't remember 100%, so that may have changed with the data slate balancing. Each Blessing of Khorne specifies the dice results it requires. Where a number is specified, a double or triple of that value or higher is required. You can only activate each Blessing of Khorne once per battle round. Any unused dice from the Blessings of Khorne roll are then discarded. Once activated, each Blessing of Khorne applies to all units from your army with this ability until the end of the battle round. So I'm going to roll here, and Angron's got a super sweet ability. I'll mention that in just a sec, but let's see what we get first. So Angron has something called the Reborn in Blood, And if this does happen right off the bat where he is going to get possibly killed, I want to make sure that I have that locked in if I can. So Reborn in Blood, at the start of the battle round, when you make a Blessings of Corn roll, if this model is destroyed, you can use a 6/6 from that roll to use this ability instead of activating any Blessings of Corn at the start of the battle round. So I do have a 6/6, that's why I wanted to check that right away. He also has the ability to reroll dice as well. So his Wrathful Presence, each time you make a Blessings of Corn roll, if this model is on the battlefield, you can reroll up to 6 of the d6 rolled. So I really like one of the abilities. I've used it previously. It is called Total Carnage, and I need 2 3s to be able to do that. It allows any model that's killed kind of a one last attack, which could make the difference in this fight. So I'm going to keep this 3, and I'm going to roll the remaining dice here. So I got another 6, I'll hold on to that, and I have a couple of 3s. So I'm going to be activating Total Carnage, which is this one here. And then if, and it doesn't say here, but Reborn in Blood will take the other Blessings of Corn out if it's needed, and I do have the 6s for that. So it's going to be Reborn in Blood first if that's not necessary, and Angron doesn't have to face any death here. I'm going to be using the Blessings of Corn, Total Carnage. So we're going to get over the table here. I'm going to do their moves, and I'll show you guys what the World Eaters have done. And then we're going to probably be flipping it back over to the Thousand Suns, unless by some miracle, Karn is in range with his plasma pistol. So it looks like their movement has changed too. I don't recall it being so fast, and I thought the Emperor's Children were super fast there from my previous Last Stand battle with Fulgrim. But the 8-bound can move 10 inches now. I think they were 8 or 9 last time I did the rolls here. And then Karn is up to 8, and I believe he used to be 6. So they've gotten extremely fast. I know they want to get in there and just get into fights right off the bat. And then Angron does have his 14. Lots of rules too, like just making sure that you're staying on top of stuff, especially when you have as many armies as I do, is tricky. So I'm really hoping that I give everyone their just desserts and make sure that they're getting what they're supposed to. So I'm going to try to stay on top of everything to make sure that the fights are fair. But we have moved the World Eaters. Karn is not in range or line of sight with that plasma pistol. He would be shooting through the structure right now, so that's a no-go. So this is going to go back over to the Thousand Suns, and with that, the Thousand Suns might actually have the advantage because they do have several ranged attacks, and they might actually have a few of these World Eaters in their line of sight and in range. So I'll check that out in just a sec, come back, show you guys the Thousand Suns move. Similar to the Blessings of Corn, we have the Cabal of Sorcerers, and also Magnus has some specific abilities, so I'm going to get into those. We have to do some rolls here. So the Cabal of Sorcerers is a faction ability for the Thousand Suns. At the start of your shooting phase, which is actually probably going to happen now, I'm going to show you guys where they moved, but I think there's a lot of stuff in range. One or more models from your army with this ability can attempt rituals from those listed on the right. To do so, select one model from your army with this ability that has not yet attempted a ritual this turn, and select one ritual no model from your army has manifested this turn. Then take a psychic test for that model by following the sequence below. So your psychic test is the roll of the 2d6. Channel the Warp is optional, which is another 6. And then if one or more doubles or triples were rolled during this test, that model's unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. So you can up yourself with the optional Channel the Warp. You just have a higher possibility of getting triples, which then would affect your models. Don't think I'm there yet, but we'll see what happens. If that model is not destroyed, the combined total of all the dice rolled during this test is the psychic test result. If this equals or exceeds the warp charge value of the ritual being attempted, that model manifests that ritual and you resolve its effects. So I'm going to roll a 2d6. And again, a little bit gray here. So one or more models from your army with this ability can attempt rituals from those listed on the right. So you can do this with everybody. So I'm going to try it. I'm going to roll d6s here. This is going to be for Magnus. So we have a 6 and a 2. This is going to be for Orion. We have a 5 and a 4. And then this is for the Exalted Sorcerer, a 3 and a 3. So that's not a triple. If I had done Channel the Warp, which is optional, it's going to give you more points to be able to do more of these Cabal of Sorcerers, which lets you do higher strength attacks. But I'm just going to keep it this way for now. So Destiny's Ruin, warp charge of 5. So the ones that are capable of doing that right now are all of them. Select one enemy unit within 24 inches of the visible and visible to the manifesting model until the end of the phase. Each time a Thousand Suns model from your army makes an attack that targets that unit, reroll hit roll of 1. If so, the psychic test result for this ritual was 10 plus, you can reroll a hit roll instead. Temporal Surge, which is a 6. Select one friendly Thousand Suns unit that is not within engagement range of one or more of the enemy's units within 24 inches of the visible manifesting model. That unit can make a normal move up to D6. If the psyche test results for the ritual is 10 plus, that unit can make a normal move of 6 inches instead. In either case, until the end of the turn, that unit is not eligible to declare a charge. Doombolt. Select one enemy unit within 24 inches of invisible to the manifesting model, excluding units with the lone operative abilities that are not part of the attached unit and are not within 12 inches of the manifesting model. That unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. If the psychic test result for the ritual was 11 plus, that unit suffers D3 plus 3. So I am going to look at that right now. I'll show you guys that in a second. We'll just try to remember this. There's so many rules. It's crazy. So I'm just a madman. Like, I collect all these different forces and I try to pit them against each other. It's just really tricky. If you're, one force specific, you probably know them like the back of your hand. That's me and my Astra Militarum. Very good with them. But when I start dealing with other armies I haven't touched in a while, it changes stuff up. So the last one is Twist of Fate. It's a warp charge of 9. So currently only a Ryman would have that 9 score. Select one enemy unit within 24 inches of and visible to the manifesting model until the end of the phase. Each time a Thousand Suns model from your army makes an attack that targets that unit, improve the armor penetration characteristic of that attack by 1. If the psychic test result for this ritual was 12 plus, improve the armor penetration characteristic of that attack by 2 instead. So that's 24 inches, and warp charge is 24 inches. The Exalted Sorcerer does not have a high enough charge, but it looks like Magnus does, as well as a Ryman. But Magnus also has some other stuff too that he has specific to himself because he is the Crimson King. So I'm going to lock that in as well. Impossible Form. Each time an attack is made against the Psyker, subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of that attack. That excludes psychic attacks, however. So that means if he gets into hand-to-hand or a shot, I can reduce the damage by 1, which is pretty huge. That might actually tip the battle in the favor of the Thousand Suns. Treason of Tzeentch. At the start of your opponent's shooting phase, select one enemy unit within 24 inches of the Psyker. Until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models in that unit have the hazardous ability. Time Flux. That's the last one. While a friendly Thousand Suns unit is within 6 inches of the Psyker, add 2 inches to the move characteristic of the models in that unit. So I'm going to lock in Impossible Form. And that's going to be a subtract 1 from damage characteristics of attacks. And he already has some other stuff too that we'll have to get into. And I'm going to go back to the table now, show you guys where everybody is, and we'll have the measuring tape out for 24 inches because the two that I want to lock in here, I think, are Doombolt and Twist of Fate. So I'm going to check that out right now and make sure they're in range, and that might get started right off the bat. All right, so just showing you guys the table edge there to show you how far these models have moved. They're going to cover this table super quick. It looks like any of the Chaos Demons will, or the Daemon Primarch models. So Magnus is right here. He's literally like right across from Angron. So I have to be very smart here because Angron can probably fly in and do hand-to-hand next turn. So I really need to soften him up and damage him. He does, though, have the Crimson King ability there where the damage is -1 right now, so that is good for Magnus. Ryman moved into the center. I'm just going to bend down here and see if he's actually in line of sight with any of the models. It doesn't look like it, so he's not going to be able to this time. However, the Exalted Sorcerer that's here is in line of sight with the 8-bound, and I'm just measuring that out right now. So that's 24 inches. They are in line of sight and in range, so he will be able to do one of those Cabal of Sorcerer attacks. And over here with Magnus, definitely in range. That's 24 inches there. So it is going all the way past him, almost to Karn at the back. So we're going to lock this in. I'm going to go over to the tray, and we're going to start some shoots. So on top of the Cabal of Sorcerers, each of the models on the board for the Thousand Suns have some pretty sweet ranged attacks. I don't recall a lot of those being there previous, so I'm thinking the balanced data slate might have helped them out, but I haven't done Thousand Suns since my Acadian Crusade, so it's possible that they've been there for a bit, I just haven't seen it. Also, I'm going to be using the Gaze of Magnus and also Tzeentch's Firestorm. It does not look like I have to pick one of the two profiles. That makes me think that I can do both. And I'm very happy that I locked in Reborn in Blood for Angron, because this could actually kill him. So Gaze of Magnus is a 3d3 attack. So this is going to be cut in half each of these dice, and then I'll add it up. So we have 3, 2 is a 5, 1 is a 6. So that's going to be 6 dice being rolled. It is a 2+ attack, so all of those have hit. It is strength 11 versus Angron's toughness 11. It's almost like these attacks were set up to fight another Daemon Primarch or a tank. So this is going to be force to wound. Holy shit, very good roll. So 1, 2 is in there, but we have 5 of the 6 that are through. It is a -2 to AP, so I'm going to flip this over to Angron. These are going to be Angron's save dice. He usually has a 2+ save. This is going to make it his 4+ invulnerable, so he needs 4s here, and everything that is not saved is 3 damage. And not a great roll. That was okay. So 3 have been saved. We had a 4, 5, 5. And this is 3 damage per, so we have 3, 6 damage. I'm just going to make sure that that's reflected on Angron. So he goes from 16 to 10 wounds, just like that. Wow, pretty crazy. You have to be super careful when you're going up against the Thousand Suns here. And then we also have Tzeentch's Firestorm. So this is d6 plus 3. So it's going to be 2 dice. So there's our 2 plus 3 additional, 5 in total. Hitting on a 2+. All of those are through, rolling quite well for Magnus so far. It is strength 6 though versus toughness 11, so I'm going to need 5s to wound this time. And he didn't get any. 1, 2, 3, 3, 3. So that is the end of Magnus for that. I've done all his abilities. And we're going to be moving over to the Exalted Sorcerer here in just a sec. I want to check his abilities one last time just to be sure I'm selecting the right stuff. And he's going to be doing whatever attack this is against the 8 bound. Okay, I was just checking out the Exalted Sorcerer's stats, and he rolled a 6. Not the best Cabal of Sorcerers, so I'm going to be using his Arcane Fire. Just going to double check here that he is within range, because I was doing 24 inches instead of 18. He is in range, just checked it out. So I'm going to be using Arcane Fire on the 8 bound, and it is going to be d6 here. Full 6 attacks. I'm rolling very well for the Thousand Suns. Wow. So it is a strength 6 attack. It's a torrent, so it's like a flamer, so these automatically hit. Strength 6 versus toughness 6. This is going to be force to wound. Not a great roll there though. So 1 did go through. I had 1, 1, 2, 3, 3. Not enough. So this one here is through. It is a -2 to AP, which brings the 8 bound up to their 5+ invulnerable. And he did make a save. If not, that would have been d3 damage. So the 8 bound have survived, as has Angron. He was wounded a little bit, but we're moving back over to the World Eaters now, and they are pissed off and want to get into a scrap. There we go. World Eater move is done. I wanted to get away from the trailer for a bit, been in there for a while explaining everything. The nice thing is I can refer back to this video if you guys want to read about, or not read about, but listen to Cabal of Sorcerers, Blessings of Corn, stuff like that. So we had Karn move up his full 8 inches. He's in cover behind the landing pad with the antenna system. The 8 bound moved up as well, full 10 inches, incredible movement. No range though, so they are probably going to have to survive another attack by the Exalted Sorcerer next turn, and possibly a Ryman. And then right away, Angron wants to get into a fight with his brother Magnus. Magnus was actually one of the largest Primarchs, him and Vulcan, so it's very cool that they have that reflected in his model. He's a full, probably half torso taller than Angron. Absolutely incredible models too. You know, I've painted them quite well, but just to be able to work off of what was already available from the sculpt is incredible. So there they are. They're going to be getting into this. I'm going to do the Blessings of Corn roll now. It's supposed to be done at the beginning, but I just wanted to get away from the trailer for a bit, show you guys some of the models, have some fun here, and we'll see what I lock in this time. And I got some other kind of gray questions that I have. So if you guys play World Eaters regularly, let me know if you want in the comments just how these damn Blessings of Corn are supposed to go and what kind of rules are like black and white as opposed to gray. So over the tray in just a sec. All right. Let's get to it. So it does state in Blessings of Corn, and this is where it's kind of gray. If your army faction is World Eaters at the start of the battle round, you can make a Blessings of Corn roll. So you can. It doesn't say you must. So this means that I can keep my dice that I've already rolled, I guess. And then to do so, roll 8d6. That does sound like it has to be a fresh start. You can then use those dice to activate up to 2 Blessings of Corn. So it's not completely outlined, but it sounds like it restarts each turn, but not 100% clear. So if you guys play World Eaters and you know, let me know. So what I'm going to do here from just what it sounds like is I am going to roll another 8d6. And I might use Angron's ability again to be able to reroll if I have to, because I definitely want that Reborn in Blood, because if he can't kill Magnus here, Magnus has a full 6 extra wounds than him after that last attack, so we'll see how it goes, but here we go. Blessings of Corn. Oof, so not as good a roll as last time. I only got 1/6. There is Unbridled Bloodlust, which is ones you can reroll charge rolls made for this unit. Meh. Rage Fueled Invigoration. Meh. So I'm going to go back to Wrathful Presence. So the Blood God's Favor, each time you make a Blessing of Corn roll, if this model is on the battlefield, you can reroll up to 6 of the d6 rolled. So I'm going to take that, hoping for more 6s. So I guess I'll keep these 2 1s that I have. Roll these here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Shit, I'm going to have to grab one of those. So I'll just remove it. Yeah, and not great. So I don't have too many doubles there. I don't think there's anything for double 6s. Reborn in Blood has to be triple 6s, and I can't reroll again. So we're going to see which Blessings of Corn I might be able to do here. Don't really have much. Oh no, but you can downgrade dice if you have to. So I think what I will do is Total Carnage again. So that's going to be 2 3s. So I can use the 5 and the 4 to make 2 3s. And then each time a model in this unit makes a pile-in or consolidation move, it can move up to 6 inches instead of up to 3. That might actually allow my Rage or my 8-bound to do their Rage Fueled Invigoration to get them in to fight the Exalted. It still looks too far. So I've used that. I think that's all I'm going to be able to do. I could do the 2 5s here. So melee weapons equipped by models in this unit have the lethal hits ability. That's Warp Blades. I think I'm going to use that. So we're going to lock in Warp Blades. That's 2 5s. And then over here we have the Total Carnage, which allows them to continue to fight if they have not fought yet. So I'm going to put that in just in case if there's any hand-to-hand. Yeah, and we're going to get to this roll in just a sec here. And we're going to see how Angron does against his Daemon Primarch brother, Magnus. Okay, here we go. Just reading up on everything. So these are going to be lethal hit strikes coming in. I'm going to use Seminarius and Spine Grinder strike profile. So this is 8 attacks. The good old number 8 for the corn. That's kind of their special number. So it is 8 attacks hitting on a 2+. 2 fell off. It is strength 14 against toughness 11, which is wild. 3s to wound. And 2 more fell off, so not an amazing roll for World Eaters and for Angron, but I will take it. So it is -3 to AP, but Magnus does have a 4+ invulnerable, And he also has the Crimson King ability Impossible Form that I put in, which is going to subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of each attack that comes in. So these are going to now be Magnus's dice that I'm going to save with. So again, this is his 4+ Invulnerable. Wow, and that was a terrible roll for Magnus too. So he only made 1 save. 331. This is D6 plus 2 damage. So even with that Crimson King ability, Impossible Form, it's very possible that he could go down here. So we'll see what happens. So let's see. First one is a 2 plus 2, that's 4. Then we'll do the subtraction. 2 plus 2, 4. And 3 plus 2, 5. So this one here, each one now is D6 roll plus 1 because of that Impossible Form. So we have 4, 7, 10. So 10 wounds have gone through. Still not the worst, but that does bring Magnus down to 6 wounds from his original 16. And now we're going to get back to Magnus to see what he does on the counterattack. Okay, here we go. This is Magnus's counterattack. Angron is already down to 10 wounds. Magnus is at 6. So this could put Angron in the grave. I don't have Reborn in Blood either this time because of the roll I did. But Magnus is no slouch either in hand-to-hand. During my Acadian Crusade, if you guys want to check that on another playlist down the line, he cut a Chimera in half in 1 turn. So he's also very good. So this is going to be the Blade of Magnus Strike. It is 7 attacks, hitting on a 2+, 16 strength, which is actually 2 strength higher than Seminarius and Spine Grinder, -3 to AP, 3 damage per. So let's see how he does. Looking for 2s here for Magnus. Got them all except 1. It is that strength 16 versus toughness 11. It's going to be wounding on 3s. Oof, and not great there. So half fell off. There's only 3 remaining. It is a -3 to AP. This is now going to be Angron's save. He's got that 4+ Invulnerable. And he made 1 4, a 6. So those 2 are saved. However, he did get wounded. He is down 3 damage from that hit. So Angron is now down to 7 wounds. They're very close now. Angron was 7, Magnus with 6. And I have to see if there's any penalty to their move, hit, things like that, because I believe they have a profile for that. And I'm also going to be moving over now to Ariman and the Exalted Sorcerer, who probably have that 8-bound in their sights. There we go. That first brawl between the Daemon Primarch Brothers is over. As I said in the tray there, Angron, 7 wounds left, no penalties yet. Magnus does have a penalty of a -1 to hit roll because of the 1 to 6 wounds. So he is quite beat up. Angron's just on the verge of being there too, though. I still have to move over here. We're going to be doing the movement if needed for Ryman. And for the Exalted Sorcerer, I believe they're both going to be putting some ranged attacks on the 8-bound. I also play hard for both sides, as I always do, so I might move these 2 disced sorcerers back to make sure that they have the range, keeping those 8-bound at bay. And they might do some more ranged attack here with the Cabal of Sorcerers, so I have to roll that in the tray, and we'll see what's going on with that. So just flip it over to the other side of the table here. I moved the Exalted Sorcerer back about 7 inches. And Orion moved back about 1 inch. That's just keeping them within a 12-inch range, because a lot of the attacks for range for them is 12 to 24 inches. So over to the dice tray now for the Cabal of Sorcerers, and I'm going to see what ranged attacks I do. This force, the Thousand Suns with the range, is going to be pretty tough to beat. Maybe the Lion can kind of walk through some of this fire with that 3+ Invulnerable, but they got a lot of attacks that can happen, and I'm probably going to be using another ranged attack with Magnus there. He's got those 2 profiles against Angron as well, and see if he can soften him up a little bit more, because if he doesn't, Angron's going to be jumping into hand-to-hand combat again with Magnus, and that wasn't pretty last time. So over the tray, let's get the Cabal of Sorcerers going and see what kind of warp energies and powers they get for this next turn. Okay, here we go. I might actually use the Channel the Warp as well, which would be an additional d6. However, if there is a triple, it means that there could be some damage. So let's do it. We're going to do this for Orion first. There we go. So no triples, that's good. Now it is the Exalted Sorcerer. No triples either, that was close though, 2 ones. And I don't think I'm going to do it for Magnus. I'm going to keep him there and use his ranged attack. So let's see what we have going on here. Not great rolls though. So I might do Doombolt. It looks like we do have that ability. Select one enemy unit within 24 inches invisible to the manifesting model. That are attacked, not part of the attached unit of the manifesting. That unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. So I'm going to be using that for Orion, which was here. So there's definitely 7 there. And I think I'm going to be using it as well, actually, for the Exalted Sorcerer, and that's going to be against the 8 bound. So one enemy unit within 24 inches, that is the 8 bound, and visible to the manifesting model, which is both the Exalted Sorcerer and Orion. Units with the lone, yeah, that doesn't affect them. That unit suffers D3 mortal wounds if the psychic test result for this ritual was 11 plus. So it's not 11 plus. 6, 9, 10. Actually, that is. So Orion actually gets a D3 plus 3, and the Exalted Sorcerer gets a D3. So sorry about this, guys. Just working through it. So this is going to be Orion D3 plus 3. So that is 1 plus 3. That's going to be 4 wounds. I'll just flip that around so I remember. 4. And then for the Exalted Sorcerer, that is, holy shit, 3 wounds. He doesn't get that additional 3, but that's 3. So in total, 7 wounds. That means that 2 of the 8 bound are dead because they have 9 wounds in total, and 1 is down to 2 wounds. So just like that, the 8 bound are almost wiped out by these crazy Tzeentchian warp powers from the Cabal of Sorcerers. My camera seems to be having a harder time focusing here too, I guess, because there's maybe one in depth and one in view here in the front, but taking a bit to kind of shake the focus in, and it's an autofocus too, so I don't know. But yeah, so here's the aftermath from that. So 2 Cabal powers, no one was hurt there from sucking power from the warp, and they did some pretty devastating stuff to the 8 bound. There's only 1 left, the 8 bound champion there, who has 2 wounds. And these guys can keep flying around the table. So without ranged weapons on these guys, it's getting very tricky. The 8 bound is still alive. I just don't know if he can cover that ground in this turn. We'll have to see if maybe one of the Blessings of Khorne can help him out. And we are going to be moving over now to Magnus to see what ranged attack he has for his brother Angron. Both gods are looking down. Khorne is, cheering for Angron and his champions, and you have Tzeentch cheering for Magnus the Red. So we're going to see how this goes. It's over to Magnus. He does have that -1 to hit due to the penalty, but yeah, we'll see what happens here. Magnus's turn. Let's see what he can do with his range here. Just reading some other stuff. I'm not using the Cabal, but he does have an ability to attempt up to 2 rituals per turn instead of 1. And each time this model attempts a ritual, add 2 to the psychic test result. So I might keep that in mind. I'm also going to lock in now, before I forget again, Impossible Form. So that's the same that he had last time, and that is in case Angron is not killed here and is able to fly back into hand-to-hand combat. That will reduce attacks by 1 damage, so that's pretty huge. So we're going to be doing the Gaze of Magnus first. That's his 3d3. So let's roll the 3d3. And not a bad roll. So we have 1, 2 dice here. We have 1, 2, 3 dice there. And we have 1 dice here. So all in all, it is 6 dice. Hitting on 2+. Couple 1s that time, so not as good a roll. Still not bad. It is Strength 11 versus Toughness 11. 4s to wound. Not as many 4s as last time, so Magnus is definitely getting tired. And actually, that was -1 to his hit roll as well. So I forgot to do that. There's so many rolls. It's crazy. So anyways, we'll say that 2 went through. It is -2 to AP. This is now Angron's save, so it's going to be 4+ invulnerable. He saved 1. and 1 went through, so that is going to be 3 damage per. That now has Angron in that penalty zone of the 1 to 6 wounds remaining, so he is also going to take a -1 to hit. However, we still have Magnus's Tzeentch's Firestorm. This time I'm definitely going to remember. This one actually hits automatically, so I don't have to worry about the penalty. So D6 plus 3. That sucks for Angron. So there's 4, 6 plus 3 dice, 9 in total. It's not as high as strength, but 2 plus to hit. So yeah, no, sorry, this is a 2 plus to hit. So this is actually going to be 3 plus now because of that -1. So usually this would be through, it's not. So we have these all through. It is strength 6 versus toughness 11. That's going to be 5s to wound. And you got a couple. Get that out of the tray. So 2 are through. It is a -1 to AP. That brings Angron up to a 3 plus. Oh, man. So he saved 1. However, this has gone through and it's 2 damage per. So Angron is just hanging on. He is down to 2 wounds now. Does not have Born in Blood going on. However, this is moving back over to the World Eaters, so he is just hanging on by the skin of his teeth. We still have Karn as well in behind. So we're going to see how this goes. Karn does have range. He's the only model on the board for the World Eaters that does. But I'm going to look at the table, do their move, really have to start to calculate. I know that the World Eaters want to get in and get into scrapping. But yeah, I'll have to see what's going on. So I'll show you guys the move in just a sec. Move is done. Angron has flown right back into hand-to-hand combat with Magnus. Magnus has his back up against the fuel tower. Can't really escape. Angron here is going to be getting that penalty of the -1 to hit rolls. But with 6 wounds left, it is possible that Angron can fell Magnus here. We're going to have to see how that goes. If he does not, very good possibility that he is going to be killed. Over here, the 8 bound just out of range, but I'm going to see if I get a Blessings of Corn roll. I know I'm supposed to do that at the start, but we've been in the dice tray a lot, so I'll do that in just a sec. And then if there's any additional movement, I will add that on. And then Karn has come out of cover. He actually has a Ryman in his sights there with his plasma pistol, and he's going to try to pick some wounds off of his kind of counterpart here in the battle that's the same kind of level as him. So Chief Librarian versus First Captain. We'll see how that goes. But first, over to the dice tray. We'll get the Blessings of Corn going and see what bonuses roll and what we can do to help these guys out. All right, Blessings of Corn roll time. Let's see what we can get here. If we can get Reborn in Blood 2 for Angron, that might be lights out. That might be the end of the Thousand Suns. But let's see how it goes. Okay, so another not great roll. I'm going to be using the Wrathful Presence, Blood God's Favor to reroll up to 6d6. So I'm going to pull these lowest ones out that can't be turned into anything else. That's 4. There we go. So we've got 2 5s. Let's see if I can get some 6s out of this. So, not great. Can maybe turn those into something. So let's give our list a look here for Blessings of Corn and see what we want to do. Rage Fueled Invigoration, I think I'm going to lock in here with these 2. That is going to allow each time a model in this unit makes a pile-in or consolidation move, it can move up to 6 inches instead of 3. That should put the 8 bound into hand-to-hand combat with the Exalted Sorcerer. So that's going to be great. Those have been used up. And then this here, I'm going to do once again, and this can come into play for Angron 2 and possibly killing Magnus after he is felled if that happens for a counterattack. So I'm going to use Total Carnage, and that's going to allow Angron to, even though destroyed, do kind of a last attack before he falls. So I'm just going to look at everything here, make sure that everyone's in range, come right back, and we're going to start rolling for the hand-to-hand combat on the board. And actually first Karn's shoot. The plasma pistol. It's a very strong weapon, but you only get one shot with it. So we need a 3+ here. I'm not messing around. I think I'm actually going to supercharge it as well. So we're going to have to see if there's any hazardous done to Karn after this. So this is Karn, the Betrayer, first captain of the World Eaters versus Ariman, the chief librarian for the Thousand Sons. They fought together during the Horus Heresy, Siege of Terra, all that good stuff. And let's see if Karn can shoot him in the face and melt his face off. So here we go. Need a 3+. And he did. He got a 6. It is a strength 7 versus toughness 4. That's going to be actually strength 8 because we supercharged against toughness 4. This is going to be a 2 to wound. You got it. -3 to AP. That brings Orion up to 4+ invulnerable. You got a 3. He did not save it. It is 2 damage. So that is going to bring Orion from 6 down to 4 wounds. And we have to now check and see. So with a hazardous weapon, when you've supercharged it, you have to make a roll. I think I've read this profile before, but I'll do it just so you guys have an idea. And then again, I can always refer to this video if I have to in the future. So this one might be a little bit longer with all these references. So weapons with hazardous in their profile are known as hazardous weapons. Each time a unit is selected to shoot or fight, in this case it is Karn, after that unit has resolved all of its attacks for each hazardous weapon that targets were selected for. When resolving those attacks, that unit must take 1 hazardous test. To do so, roll 1d6. On a 1, that test is failed. For each failed test, you must resolve the following sequence. So we're hoping for anything higher than a 1 here for Karn. And he just got it. He got a 2. So he's good to go. He used the supercharged profile for his plasma pistol, took those wounds off of Orion, and he is still good to go without any wounds going on. We're going to be back in the tray here in just a sec. We'll get the 8-bound versus the Exalted Sorcerer, and then we're going to move over to finalize possibly this battle with Angron fighting against Magnus. Alrighty, just to break up some of the footage there, moving away from the tray, we have the 8-bound that was 3 inches away, so he was able to do that consolidation pile-in move as per the Blessing of Khorne. So he is in hand-to-hand combat. We're going to go back to the tray right now to work this out. My camera is kind of acting weird. I said earlier there it wasn't focusing, so I might have to do a restart here and just make sure that it is going to autofocus. I hope the rolls in the tray have looked okay, and I'll just try to keep an eye on it to make sure it's okay, but apologies if there's been any foggy or fuzzy shots. Hand-to-hand combat time. So 8-bound with the initiative here, fighting against the Exalted Sorcerer on Disc of Tzeentch. This is going to be the Chain Blades. They used to have multiple profiles for the 8-bound. I said in a couple battles ago, I think it was in Last Stand series, that they kind of got dumbed down a little bit from their previous rules, I think. But let's see how it goes. So we have 5 attacks hitting on a 3+. And 1 fell off. It is strength 8 versus toughness 4. So this is going to be 2s to wound. All of those are through. 2, 3, 3, 4. Hoping that looks okay on the camera. It does. It seems like it's okay. So maybe it's just when I'm zooming in on characters that the focus is going out. Anyways, it is a -2 to AP. The Exalted Sorcerer does have a 4+ invulnerable. This would usually bring him up to a 5+. So this is now the Exalted Sorcerer's save. So looking for 4s. Made 1, 2 saves, 4 and a 6. These 2, however, are through, and that is 2 4 wounds. That brings the Exalted Sorcerer from 6 wounds down to 2. And he is going to be able to fight back here, so we're going to get right to it. The Exalted Sorcerer is getting a counterattack here. They have a Force Weapon and the Prosperine Khopesh. So it looks like you don't have to select one of the 2. You can do either attack or both. So I am going to be doing both. So it is 5 attacks for the Force Weapon, hitting on a 2+. So 1 fell off. It's strength 6 versus toughness 6. That's going to be 4s to wound. So 2 fell off. 2 are through. It is a -1 to AP. This is going to be the 8-bound save. It's going up to a 4+ now. Oof. Saved 1. Other one is through. It's D3 wounds, so this is very possible that our 8-bound could go down from a counterattack from the force weapon. So let's see how the D3 rolls. It is a 2, so you cut that in half as per a D3, and that has actually killed our 8-bound. So he had only 2 wounds remaining after being softened up there by a Ryman previously. He has been removed from the table. Show you guys the aftermath of that again, just so we can kind of break up the footage a bit, and then we're getting right back to hand-to-hand with Angron versus Magnus. So now it is Karn the Betrayer that is the last model on this side of the table with his Primarch, Angron. Karn, you know what? That's good, pretty good odds for Karn. He's going to fucking just fight until the last breath. He gets returned to the warp anyways, I think, so he's just going to keep scrapping. The Exalted Sorcerer was softened up there, though, down to 2 wounds. Orion also softened up to 4 from the Plasma Pistol Blast. So we're going to figure that out next turn for the Thousand Suns. But right now might be the final fight between these two. Reborn in Blood is not activated. I did not get a high enough Blessings of Corn roll. So we're moving over to Angron with the initiative here against his Daemon Primarch brother Magnus. Magnus has those 6 wounds. Angron has 2. So if Angron does not kill him here, it is very possible that he is going to go down to Magnus in this fight. Oh, alrighty, here we go. So Angron with Salmonarius and Spine Grinder, usually a 2+. This is now a 3+ because of the 1-6 wound remaining penalty because of the damage they've taken. Magnus is in the same boat. He also has a -1 to hit. So these are 3s for Angron. Absolutely fucking garbage roll. So we lost 5 dice out of the 8. 3 are through. Strength 14, toughness 11, 3s to wound. Another one fell off. Oof, not looking good. So there's 2 that have gone through. It is -3 to AP. This is now Magnus' save. It's going to be a 4+. So he did save 1. 1 has not been saved, and that is D6 +2 here. So it is possible that this may kill Magnus. If you're cheering for Angron and the World Eaters, you want a super high roll here. If you're Thousand Suns and with Magnus the Red, you want the lowest possible roll here from me. So here we go, and I haven't been rolling great for Angron, so let's see how it goes. So it did not kill him. So there is 2 + 2 is 4. That leaves Magnus with 2 wounds, so they are both down to 2. However, this is going back over to Magnus now, and he does have those 2 profiles for the Blade of Magnus. Not as many attacks as Angron, so there's a possibility if I don't roll well here for him, Angron might survive. But let's see how it goes. So 7. It's going to be a 3+ as well because of that 1-6 damage, wounds remaining from damage. So looking for 3s. Yep, a better roll for Magnus. I've been rolling pretty well for the Thousand Suns. So we do have a lot through. It is strength 16 versus toughness 11. This is going to be 3s to wound. Ooh, wow. Okay, so that wasn't a great roll. So 1, 1, 1, 2, 2 needed 3s. 1 is through. It is a -3 to AP. That's going to bring Angron up to his 4+. This is Angron's save. And he has not saved it. It is 3 damage. So that means Angron has been killed by Magnus. Reborn in Blood is not in effect. I did not get a roll for that. So I will look at the stats here for Angron and see if there's any way he can come back. That's also new because I think he used to be able to get an automatic roll if he was killed. But I'll see if there's anything that can maybe bring him back. And if not, it is only Karn the Betrayer left on the field taking on Magnus, Orion, and the Exalted Sorcerer. And there is Magnus the Red, the victor of the fight against Angron for now. Still 2 wounds remaining. Orion with 4, Exalted Sorcerer with 2. They're pretty beat up. Karn is the sole model left for the World Eaters. This is going over to the Thousand Suns, but there is Berserker Frenzy, which will allow Karn to come back. If we do that, I will cover that when we're in the dice tray. And if Karn can survive these next attacks, it is very possible that during the Blessings of Khorne roll, since Karn would still be alive, and I get enough sixes, I might be able to bring Angron back into the fight with the blood that has been spilled. So I'm going to move it over to the Thousand Suns here in just a sec. We're going to do their move, do their shoot, whatever else they need to do. I am going to be playing smart, of course, for the Thousand Suns, so probably still going to keep their distance because they know Karn is an absolute butcher with Gorechild. So yeah, I'll look at the table for them, figure out what I want to do, and we'll see how it goes. All right, Thousand Sun move is done. They are coming right at Karn. So we have Magnus here at the back of the table. He's moved across to be able to put some range down on Karn. And then we have the Exalted Sorcerer in the same spot. And Ryman also moved back about an inch just to make sure that he's not close enough for Karn to jump in with any of those Blessings of Khorne abilities. So we're going to see how this goes. I'm going to go roll the Cabal of Sorcerers right now, see what kind of stuff they get from that, and then it's going to be a whole hell of a lot of range coming down on Karn the Betrayer. Okay, so I'm going to be doing the Cabal of Sorcerers here. I'm not going to be doing Channel the Warp, which is optional, because that might kill my models if I'm not careful. So first one here is going to be for a Ryman. 4 and a 1, not great. Exalted Sorcerer, a 6 and a 5, much better. So, I think I'm going to do Doombolt again. This one will not work for that. It has to be a 7. This will for sure, though. And actually, with an 11, it's going to have that extra attack or extra mortal wounds. So, there's going to be, yeah, it's 11 right there. And then for a Ryman, just looking at everything here. So I'm going to use Warp Charge Destiny's Ruin, which is Psychic, and that's going to help him out with his shoot. So Warp Charge 5, that's it right here. Select one enemy unit within 24 inches of invisible to the manifesting model, which is accurate here. Until the end of the phase, each time a Thousand Suns model from your army makes an attack that targets that unit, reroll a hit roll of 1. So that is going to be any hits with 1 there. That's going to help out everybody. So that's a Ryman helping out his buddies. So we're going to get to that in just a sec here. I will start the shoots, and I think I'm going to start off with Doombolt here in just a second. Oof, okay, so this might be it for Karn here, at least for his first life. So this is going to be Doombolt from the Exalted Sorcerer. It is D3 plus 3 mortal wounds because of that 11 that I rolled. So, ooh, he survives it. So that is D3, so that is a 1. 2 turns into a 1, it gets cut in half, plus 3 is 4 wounds. So Karn goes from 5 down to 1. And he still has to survive Ryman's attack as well as Magnus's. So we'll get to Ryman right now. He has his Infernal Bolt Pistol, and he has his Transmogrifying Blast. So the Infernal Bolt Pistol, I'm just going to measure here, is 12 inches. I want to make sure that that's in range. It is, so Ryman's going to get both attacks. So we're really cheering here. You know, if you're cheering for Karn, you want him to get that 4+ invulnerable because these do have some AP to them. So we'll start off with the Infernal Bolt Pistol, 2+. Got it. It is Strength 4 versus Toughness 4, force to wound. Got the 4. It is a -1 to AP. That brings Karn up to his 4+. I'll switch to a red dice in hopes that, you know, Khorne is looking out for him. And he did not get it. So that is 1 damage. Karn has been killed for now. We're going to see here in just a sec if I'm able to bring him back to life with his ability. So we're still live here. Berserker Frenzy, the first time this model is destroyed, which is right now, At the end of the phase, roll 1d6. On a 2+, set this model back up on the battlefield as close as possible to where it was destroyed, and not within engagement range of one or more enemy units with 3 wounds remaining. So let's see what we can do here. Need a 2+. You got it. So he's got a 4. Karn is back in the fight with 3 wounds, and he is outside of any kind of engagement range. So I'm going to move him way back. The big thing here, though, is he is going to be able to do the Blessings of Khorne during his turn, and if enough 6s are rolled, possibly bring back his Primarch Angron. So they tried to bring him down. Karn the Betrayer will not die, at least not his first time. So the 3 of them are like, ah, shit. And from the warp, he appears again. So engagement range, I've always kind of placed him like outside of engagement range is in hand-to-hand combat, but engagement range could be engagement of firing too. So I've put him back about 24 inches, which is the ranged attack for all the models. And we're going to get over to the dice tray now to figure out if Angron is coming back into this fight. And if that's the case, ooh, it's far from over. So over to get our Blessings of Khorne rolls, and let's see how many 6s we get. Blessings of Khorne time. No ability to reroll dice here because Angron is not on the table, but we still get our 8 dice. There we go. Let's see how many 6s we can get. Oh, no. So it wasn't enough. I'm not sure. Maybe Angron has to be on the field for that anyways, but it makes sense. Reborn in Blood. I think it used to be an ability. So what I'm going to lock in here again is Total Carnage. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference at this point, but Karn is going to be able to move. If he can get within range, he's going to be able to shoot and maybe kill one of these annoying Thousand Sun models. To tell you the truth, Thousand Suns, like they've always been a really good, robust, durable army. And with these stats, they have the smallest force here. There's only 3 models. And they just killed Angron, a full section of 8-bound, and Karn once. So let's see if Karn can kill any more, and by some miracle, maybe Khorne's looking out for him. He can continue to fight here with that invulnerable save. But we got to keep going on the battle to figure out how that's going to work. So over to him, do his move, and be right back to show you what we're doing. So Karn moved up his full 8, got a little bit of cover behind the antenna launch pad here. Still fighting. He's not going to give up. That's not in Karn's nature. Magnus, I believe, has line of sight as well, possibly his range, especially if he moves here next turn. As you can see, yeah, he definitely has Karn in line of sight. However, the Exalted Sorcerer and Orion do not have him in line of sight, but they do get one hell of a movement. So it is back over to the Thousand Suns. Karn is not in range to be able to use his plasma pistol. But I don't think these guys are quite in range yet either to get in hand-to-hand. So we'll see how it goes. Going to move the Thousand Suns, come back, show you that move, and then we'll keep this battle going. Well, shit. All 3 are now in range, most likely, and in line of sight. So Karn is there with his 3 wounds. We're going to see how this goes. If by some chance, again, Khorne can save him with that invulnerable save, there's a few models here that are pretty close to being killed. So if he gets a good shot there, supercharges that plasma pistol again, might take out Magnus, might take out the Exalted Sorcerer if he wants to shoot at him. We'll see. I'm going to do some measurements here, figure out what's going on for their distance. We have to do the Cabal of Sorcerers too, see what kind of stuff we want to lock in there. I might just stick with regular profiles though, because they've got some pretty damn good ranged attack without the Cabal. So we'll see what's going on. I'm going to look at everything, and then I'll move over to the tray, and we'll get that rolling. All right, so I am going to do Cabal of Sorcerers for Ryman and for the Exalted Sorcerer. I'm also going to be doing Channel the Warp, so that's going to give me an additional d6 dice. But if there is a triple rolled, that means that there's going to be some damage done. So let's see how it goes. So 2, 3, 5. That will say is for the Exalted Sorcerer. And then this will be for Orion. 3, 1, 5. I'm going to lock in Doombolt again. It's got a great range. I was just looking at the ranged weapons. They're around 18 inches, so this is a full 24. I don't think they're going to get the additional D3 plus 3 mortal wounds, but they've got a 7 each here. So there's 8, 9, 10, and then we have 8, 9. So it's going to be D3 mortal wounds. So again, one last time here for the warp charge, because this could be the end of Karn. Select one enemy unit within 24 inches of and visible to the man. Oh, hold on a sec. Can I select the same one though? Don't know if I can select the same attack twice. One model from your army with this ability that has not yet attempted a ritual this turn, and select one ritual no model in your army has manifested this turn. Yeah, so I can only do one at a time. So we're going to use the Doom Bolt with a Ryman. So this was a Ryman here. I'll just keep this in because I need to know what kind of points the Exalted Sorcerer got. But let's see. So it's going to be D3. And that is 2 wounds to Karn. He's still hanging on. He's got 1 wound left. So that is it for Ryman. Now we have the 8, 9, 10. Warp charge. Select one enemy unit within 24. That's still the case here. Improve the armor penetration characteristic of that attack by 1 if the psychic test results for this ritual was 12 plus. And yeah, so I'm going to use that. So this is going to still be a shoot. So I can shoot with the Exalted Sorcerer if he is in range. Just going to measure that to be damn sure. So Arcane Fire is 18 inches. It is within range of Karn. So I'm going to be using the Arcane Fire. And with that ability, it does give an additional armor penetration, so it's a torrent d6. So it is 3 attacks coming through. Hits automatically, so it is strength 6 versus toughness 4, 3 to wound. Oh no, Karn. So 5, 6, those are both through. Minus 3 to AP. That brings Karn up to his 4 plus invulnerable. These are now Karn's save. You know what? I'll save with red just to make sure. So this is going to be his 4 plus invulnerable. And he saved both. Wow, he's hanging on. So the last one here with any range is Magnus. I am going to do that right now. It is the Gaze of Magnus followed by Tzeentch's Firestorm. Again, there's no rule here saying that I have to select one of the 2 profiles. So he gets both. If Karn can survive this, holy shit. So 3d3, that becomes a 2, that becomes a 3, that becomes a 1. And it is going to still have that penalty to it here in just a sec. So I'm just going to add it up here again. So we have 2, 5, 6 dice in total. There they are. This would usually be a 2 plus. It is a 3 plus because of the damage that has been sustained by Magnus. So 3 pluses. Wow, they're still looking out for Karn. So my rolls that were really good for the Thousand Suns are starting to switch. Lots of 2s, not high enough. And that's because of that damage. So strength 11, toughness 4, 2s to wound. Both have wounded, however. This is going to be Karn's save now. It's a minus 3 to AP because of that Cabal of Sorcerers skill from the Exalted Sorcerer. So this is minus 3, bringing Karn up to his 4 plus invulnerable again. He saved both again. That would have been D3 per. 3 damage per. So he just saved possibility of 6 damage. He's still going. Now he just has to survive Tzeentch's Firestorm, which is Magnus's last attack here. So D6 plus 3. It is a 2 plus 3. That's going to be 5 in total. So, yep, we got 5 here. It is a 3 plus again because Magnus is swifted there after taking damage. That was a better roll. So 4 are through. It is a 6 strength versus toughness 4, 3s to wound. 2 more fell off. Minus 1 to AP. That's going to bring Karn back up to his 4. I'm going to grab 2 more red dice. 4 plus save. And that was it. So it's 2 damage per. So Karn failed both. That's 4 damage. He cannot come back to life. Karn has been slain. And the Fight 'Em Up Series Primarch and their Posse first battle goes to Magnus, Ariman, and the Exalted Sorcerer on Disc of Tzeentch. So I'll just go to the board, show you guys that. And that was a hell of a fight. And here they are, the victors of Fight 1, World Eaters versus Thousand Suns. We have the Thousand Suns led by Daemon Primarch Magnus the Red, his Chief Librarian Ariman, and an Exalted Sorcerer on Disc of Tzeentch. They did not come out unscathed, however. Their wounds will all be replenished for the next fight, but Ariman was down to 4 wounds. Magnus was almost killed, had 2 wounds remaining, and the Exalted Sorcerer on Disc of Tzeentch had 2 wounds also. So very, very good fight by the World Eaters. They didn't have much range. The only one that actually had a ranged attack was Karn. So when these Thousand Suns face a force that has ranged attacks, it might be a different story. But we're going to see they have moved on to the second round at least. And with that D3 roll that's going to happen in the future, they might actually get a bye to the finals. So the next fight up is Fulgrim versus the Lion. That is going to be epic. 2 masterful swordsmen. And the Lion has a hell of a force around him with range, with invulnerable saves, with some punch. But Fulgrim, as we saw there, if you guys want to check out Last Stand series, the previous battle, most recent one on my playlist, Fulgrim went up against a 1,200 point Tyranid army and completely wiped them out. But anyways, let's not steal the spotlight here. This is Magnus's victory with Ariman and the Exalted Sorcerer. They did great. They beat an absolutely insane hand-to-hand combat army in the World Eaters, especially Angron. I'm very impressed. Magnus did super well, and that Cabal of Sorcerers is very, very potent. So these guys might be sticking around for a while. We'll have to see. Thank you guys for watching. Please give us a like, subscribe. Finnigan 40K, Fight 'Em Up Series, Primarch, and their Posse. See you in a little bit. Bye-bye for now.